and welcome back to So This Is Thailand. I'm Johan Wimonchalau. Swadee krap.
I'm Tapani Manawe. สวัสดีค่ะ
And I'm Belinda Skinner. สวัสดีค่ะ
Nice to have you back in here.
Thank you very much.
It's good to see you again.
You're taking a week off?
The lineup is changing again.
Yep.
Keep it interesting.
It's like musical chairs in here.
I know.
I saw that, the rose between two thorns last week. Lucky you.
Oh, I like that analogy. Thank you very much.
Well, we're starting off at a new week here. A lot of fun stuff going on. The vegetarian festival is still going on, so hopefully people have been enjoying that over the weekend and the past week.
Did you have a chance to check out some of the veggie dishes?
I did, and we mentioned last week that it's great to have vegetarian food, but a lot of times they fry everything.
Yeah.
So you got the benefit of the vegetables, but then you get the negative benefits of all the oil.
It can't be too healthy. You have to offset it somehow. It's just not normal.
What I liked about it was, I was watching all these Thais line up, and it was the vegetarian. So it was the yellow and the red sign, and then I'm looking at the sign, and it has the pork, and it said like pork and fried rice or chicken and fried rice, and going, but aren't we vegetarian? But apparently there's all this mock.
Yeah.
This mock meat,
Yeah.
mock pork, mock
The mock
beef.
products
I'm not sure,
are
but
quite
mock chicken. Yeah.
amazing, amazing range as well.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And we were also looking at one of the stories last week was during this time all the prices for vegetables obviously go up because there's such a high demand for it.
That's right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now,
So
if only there was like the counterbalancing, if all the prices for meat dropped. Nuts.
you would have a field day.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, actually, it's kind of been quiet around town because if you've noticed, Friday evening, the traffic was not as heavy as it usually is. A lot of people are making an escape out of town, because you can take just one day off and then you get 4 days.
Exactly. For those who don't know, Tuesday, tomorrow is a holiday. It's Chulalongkorn Day. And so, as Tara said, a lot of people say, well, why not just make that a nice long weekend? Which I say, indeed, absolutely, because you make it so much better for everyone who lives here in the city as well. No traffic for us.
That's right.
On the
weekend was
downside,
nice, actually,
though,
wasn't it?
after the holiday, the schools are going to be starting again. So it's going to get busy. Yeah.
So make the most of the next 2 days.
Yeah, enjoy it while you can. Well, talk of the town today, talking about traffic and automobiles. We've covered before a couple times looking at the Grand Prix. Before we were thinking about, well, maybe it's going to be in Chiang Mai, maybe it's going to be back down here in Bangkok. Well, now, semi-officially, we might say that a deal has been struck to host the Grand Prix in 2014. Now, whether it actually comes to fruition, we will see. But it's slated for in November. Formula One will be here, so a lot of things will have to take place. A lot of preparations, obviously. A lot of road work's going to have to be done. But the government is saying, the government will put up 60% of the cost. The other 40% coming from sponsors such as Red Bull and Sing Brewing Company, which are already big sponsors of racing, internationally. And also, if you look at it, Singapore has done a fantastic job. So they're hopefully going to kind of have that same success here. We don't know if they're going to be able to or not. But at least looking at the costs for organizing and doing the licensing fee of it as well, they say will not be more than Singapore, so at least we're on par, which is good, and that's going to be about 1.2 billion baht per year.
Wow.
As I mentioned before, 60% coming from the government, your money, and 40% coming from the sponsors.
Okay, so when they make money, where is it going?
That's hopefully it would be coming back to our pockets since it's tax money which paying
Right?
for it. But if you look at everything that just like the Olympics are phenomenally expensive to put on, but all the revenue that comes in from people visiting, Singapore saw a huge boom in terms of hotel reservations and just holiday spending because people were coming in to see it.
It will be a great economy boost.
Yeah.
Because Asia and Bangkok especially is such a hub, so people can come over just for the weekend for it. The concern that I have though is the Asian brand or the Asian race for the Grand Prix is last month, theoretically. So next in 2014, it will be September. Now that's our wet season. That's our big, so I'm not sure how, it's going to be interesting to see how they work that out because as we know what the roads are like during the wet season, how's that going to be with the Formula Ones? They'll be complaining a lot.
You see all the water coming out of the grates.
It's an interesting thought. So actually, if you are organizing it, could you maybe push it back a month or so? I'm really not very savvy with.
Well, if you look at it, the track requirements are so specific, so high grade. I mean, if you look at the requirements, these are the super high end cars out there. The road surface has to be absolutely pristine. You can't have obviously there are little divots and bumps and sewer grates in the middle of the road. The path that it takes through. We talked about this actually before. We're looking at not only do you have to maintain the roads, but all the neighborhoods, the cities, where it's going through. You have to get pre-approval for that as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a lot of zoning issues.
Yeah, and cordoning off and how do you say it? Safety keeping, crowd control?
Yeah, crowd control, absolutely.
Well, speaking of crowd control, we're going to have a little bit more about that, and it's a local street racing. But first, we're going to take a little bit of a look at rice. We love to talk about rice. This is not about the rice pledging scheme, however, and it's about the safety of Thai rice. Now, a couple of weeks ago, report came out in the U.S. It's a U.S. consumer report from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration that says that they found very significant amounts of toxic elements in a variety of rice products sold in the U.S. Now, as a main exporter of rice, Thailand is of course kind of affected by this, and the Julapon Research Institute has carried out a research to assure consumers that arsenic concentration in Thai rice is very, very tiny and is no threat to consumers' health. It is well within standards. So the Thai FDA safety standards is 2 milligrams per kilogram, 2 milligrams of arsenic per kilogram of rice, compared to Australia and New Zealand's, which is 1 milligram. But however, we fall way below that. The arsenic levels that they found in records of rice over the past 5 years is 0.2 milligrams per kilogram. So it's well within safety limits.
I actually wonder where that rice that they found in the U.S. is coming from. It might have been a fact where the rice, the original origin of the rice was safe, but perhaps in the processing or in the shipment or something else that was in the container at that time was also had some cross-contamination in there as well.
They've also argued that a lot of the times now we're kind of importing rice from other places and selling it as Thai rice because it fetches a higher price. So actually to go to the source of the problem would be to control the arsenic levels where the rice is being grown rather than in what's being put out or sold.
Well, it's good news to hear that we're actually, Thailand is what, 0.2, did you say?
Yes.
0.2 milligrams. That's
We're within-
extremely low compared to, well, as you said, New Zealand and Australia is 1 milligram.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's more investigation needed on where that's actually coming from. So that's good.
Good news though.
It is good news. Well, speaking of rice production, moving off to one of our neighbors in Vietnam. Obviously, Vietnam actually produces more rice, but we export more rice. Thailand is looking at the upcoming bilateral cabinet meeting, which is going to take place in Hanoi this upcoming Friday. They're going to look at some joint Thailand-Vietnam commerce. Hopefully going to be able to set up a business council out there. So, there's a lot that can be done between the two countries, obviously. We both have, phenomenally, huge rice production. But they want to look at things like economy, security, tourism, education as well. We've covered some stories in the past where, in terms of education, especially Vietnam, in terms of English proficiency, is much above Thailand is. So there's some work done there. Also some agreements for transportation. We've looked at a lot of efforts being done, especially if you look at Myanmar and the Dawei project. You're looking at China trying to put in some high-speed rail and roads coming from there. The whole region is really coming together, and it only makes sense that you have Thailand here in the central region. You got Vietnam on our eastern side with a huge coast, looking at the routes coming from China as well. Why not? And be able to look at the rice side. Thailand is going to propose a kind of a Asian federation of rice millers. So not just Thailand producing rice and competing with our neighbors, but why not pool our resources, since Southeast Asia is really the breadbasket when it comes to rice, and kind of be like a rice OPEC.
Wow. Can you imagine, cutting down the supply, controlling the price of rice in the world?
Yeah, well, why not?
OPEC Rice Council.
Well, Thailand and Vietnam are doing so much business with each other. It's good that I think we really do need to promote that more. And it's,
Yeah.
I mean, you're a neighbouring country, getting on and increasing the business would be very beneficial to both countries.
Well, Thailand actually exports $7 billion US to Vietnam. So
Wow.
it's a huge number.
huge.
It's a huge number out there.
Huge.
Right, well, on to our less rice-related last topic of Talk of the Town. It's about illegal street racing. Now, if you've ever been stuck on the roads while a motorcycle gang has shut down the road to race down it, has that ever happened to you?
Oh, lots of times.
Yeah, when I come home late sometimes, they've completely blocked off the roads and the cars can't do anything about it and can't kind of push past, or unless you kind of mow them down. Anyway, this is a really, really big problem. And the National Police are now stepping up, and they've announced that they've designed special spikes which are going to puncture and let the air out of the motorcycle tires very, very slowly. They've stressed that this is a device that's safe to use, and the motorcycles will still be able to cruise about 30 to 50 meters before the tires become completely flat. And they are going to start to use these devices to curb street racing. The devices cost about 13,000 baht each, and there are also bigger ones that can pop car tires, which is going to be used for crowd control, which is going to cost the taxpayers 18,000 baht each. In the meantime, though, if you do spot illegal motorcycle or street racing, you can call the hotline at 1599 to report the case. Which was a number I would have liked to have had when I was stuck for 20 minutes and unable to move.
Pictures are going in my mind. I'm sorry. 30 or 40 meters is not a lot. Not at that
it's
speed.
not.
It's not.
Yes.
I mean, we use tire spikes in the U.S. all the time.
Yeah.
You turn on a TV station in Los Angeles, and almost daily you'll see a car chase. And normally what they do is they'll either puncture the tire, or they'll, if they're kind of a net type of device, they'll actually wrap around a car tire and prevent it from turning. It'll lock up the mechanism.
Wow.
But the problem is, police, whenever they're breaking up these motorcycle gangs, is they catch a few, but they spread out. Anyone who's seen the movie Fast and the Furious, when all those cars came out, they're just everywhere. They spread out, so they catch maybe the handful who got stuck in the back, but the rest of them have all fled the scene, and they kind of pop up randomly around the city.
We had that when I was growing up, a teenager. We had the same sort of area. There was a drag area, whether for the bikes or the cars, and people would go down. It was illegal street racing, and then they brought in proper drag strip areas, and they had it all proper sanctioned, and it was police controlled, and people actually got certificates to say what speed they did and things like that. So it was more regulated, and just took them away from your normal streets and the chaos that it's causing everybody else, and let them do it in the safety.
That's a great
Quite
idea.
Good. So just put them in a different area. You don't have to go far, and so it's better rather than causing a lot of accidents with the spikes. I'm just picturing this motorbike going.
Well, you notice a lot of the teenagers, they've modified their bikes heavily, number one. Number two, none of them are wearing any safety equipment. No helmets, no anything.
Yes, I was just watching that picture then, wasn't it? They were just T-shirts and...
And also another concern that has popped up is while you're trying to regulate these activities, the police are not allowed to carry weapons, carry firearms. But usually people who are in motorcycle gangs are packing. So it's actually dangerous for the police as well to be out there with their spikes. Coming up against a gun or something. We'll see how that goes.
We'll see how it goes. Well, with Formula One, maybe we'll have the bikes will have a little competition on the roads.
Don't use the spikes in the wrong
Don't use
time.
the spikes. Exactly. Well, coming up after the break, we're going to have V-Talk with myself, looking at Gourmetopolis, which is a food supplier here in the city, supplying all sorts of high-end and some of them quite unique food items to a lot of the hotels and restaurants that many of us are patrons of.
Very nice. Looking forward to
I
that.
always wonder where all that food comes from.
Did you get any samples when you were there?
Oh, you'll see that. You'll see.
Coming up after V-Talk, we have Good News Thailand. And Kunyut is going out to, we're still on the food talk. We're keeping it all in theme. He's actually going out and looking at the mushroom tents. I don't know if you've actually seen these. They're very compact and great for the local villagers. For good money making anyway. It's all about mushrooms and growing them, and I think it's really worthwhile.
Well, there's a huge demand for mushrooms, and they're quite easy to grow, and they don't take up a lot of space, as you mentioned, and why not?
Great
Excellent.
way to earn supplementary income.
So it sounds very interesting. So join us just after the break for V Talk and Good News Thailand.